Good morning. Today, I'm going to go over this INCA 570 joiner planer. I'm going to show you how I operate it. I'm going to talk to you about the history of this particular machine, some of the things I've done on it, some of the things I've done to it, and why. I bought this machine used in the 1990s, probably around 95 or so. I was getting into furniture. Man, I think the guy was out in Pasadena. There's a shop called Eagle Tools, and these guys are out. They used to be out in Altadena. Jesse owns it, and Raul, his number one guy answering the phones. Hope Raul's okay. He's had some health issues over the years. I don't know if he's still around. Raul, if you are, hi. They moved their location now over to Glendale, so I used to go to them. Matter of fact, when I first got it, I think I had them service it for me. Something wasn't right about that. There was a bunch of shims in here, and I had a lot of issues because this thing moves around a lot. I eventually took all the shims out and double checked all the machining on everything, put it back together without the shims, and I've had no problems since with adjustments and my boards being perfectly flat and all that. So it is a finicky machine, particularly if you are using a rolling base moving around a shop like I do. It's a thing. So you have to check your machines for calibration from time to time. That's normal in woodworking. Same thing with the bandsaw over here. Same thing with the table saw over here. From time to time, you got to go through these things, take things apart, put it back together, get it right. Once all your machines are dialed, then you can always pick up a board and cut. You know you're getting square cuts and all that sort of thing. So there's been a lot of parts replaced on this. Certain things happen with it. This is just a little thing I keep up here because it's a tiny shop and that serves as kind of like a shelf space from time to time. As I said, it is a joiner planer. It's both. There's a planer underneath here. Up top here, there's the joiner. These are the Tersa head cutters. These blades are double-sided. They are held in place with these little blocks. There's two long metal blocks you got to whack with a hammer. I'll show you all that. And you release the knives. You can turn them over. I'll show you some little tricks about the longevity of these blades over time. I guess we'll start off with one thing that some of you guys will see right off the bat, which is these brass machined knobs. Very nice. Obviously, well, maybe not obvious to you, but this machine does not come with these things. Okay? These things were machined by my brother or one of his machinists over at the Grand Canyon Railroad shop years and years and years ago. This machine, new, I think, was about $3,000. I think I got a stellar deal on it at the time, even though it was still a lot of money. I think I paid like $1,100 for it or something. The guy was older, you know, kind of retiring woodworker, super cool guy. Yeah. Now in this box here, well, first of all, there's this. You know, I took this thing off because it's this safety thing that bolts on here and covers the blade. It's just, it's too cumbersome. And it's funny because I took the plastic thing, or whatever this is, like fiberglass or something. I removed this years ago, and then I still had this thing bolted to, and I only like this past year finally, I think, unbolted this because it was in the way. And you can see the holes in the tabletop, and you can see that I slid the machine over on the table, which puts the motor weight more over the table. Before, the motor was hanging over further. It made it harder to store the machine in the room. This made it more efficient in space. As a matter of fact, I mean, if it was possible, I'd probably even slide it over a little bit further. So a lot of old-time woodworkers, you'll see we don't have a lot of the safety stuff on the machines. That's because we know what we're doing. You have to focus when you're working. I think there's some schmutz on the lens here. Hang on a second. So as I was saying, my safety is my mind. I focus. I imagine my fingers and everything going into the blades and blood flying everywhere. It's happened before. It has happened. I took the tip of this finger off completely and the corner of this finger off. Right here on this machine because I didn't have the outfeed table adjusted tight all the way. So the blade was high here. I was kind of half asleep. It was my old basement shop where I live. And I went downstairs. I set the machine up. I did something else. I came back, and I was face joining short pieces of genuine mahogany. Genuine mahogany is what you'd call Honduran mahogany. And it kicked back on me, and my fingers went right into these blades. That was not fun. But they grew back. You can't even tell. Tips of your fingers will grow back. It's interesting. Anyhow, so yeah, you do that once and you'll never do it again. Again, with the knobs, as I was saying, I got this box here. Check this out. This goes all the way back to the 1990s. It was a Milwaukee cordless. It was the worst cordless I ever had as far as battery life. I used this on the movie sets. Back in the old days, tools came in these metal boxes, which can, look at that. You guys remember that? So these are the knobs that come on this machine, and you might be able to see. Let's put this down here for a second. I got this kooky tripod here. I want to get a zoom in on this for you so you can see. These things would split, they'd crack on you. There's a little pin, and you know you're cranking on these knobs to cinch up the tables. There you go. And that's what would happen. It's a terrible design. Terrible design. So after going through a bunch of these to the point where, I mean, over at the place, they didn't even have any more of these for me to buy. I bought several sets of these. I talked to my brother about it. I sent him a set, and he machined these up for me. What's nice is they help with vibration, right, on the tables. It would make sense, I suppose, to you guys. They look friggin' bitchin' too. Look at that. Anyhow, that was a major improvement. And let's see what we got in this box here. I just took it out. I knew those knobs would be in there. At least I was hoping. Let's see what else we got in here. Let's see what else we've got in here. So these are the belts. There's two belts. I can pull the side off and show you where they go. They're good to have. If you are planing and you don't have it adjusted correct, the machine will, it kind of binds. The wood will still go through, but the Tersa head cutter will stop spinning because it'll throw a belt. You got to pull the side off, put the belts back on. Here's a new set of Tersa head cutters. I've discovered I could buy these online now, so I don't need to go over there to Eagle Tools very much anymore. Here's a couple. This is what one of the shims looked like that was on the in-feed tables, feeler gauge. And here I save the old blades if they're not too beat up, because what I'll do is from time to time I'll have some hardwoods and I want to do like a preliminary milling and not dull up a new set of knives. So I save these for a while. I use them, reuse them, take them out. I rotate them with other blades because blades get little nicks, and I could prolong them that way. Here is an original manual from Garrett Wade, who used to sell INCA tools. It's kind of nice to have this. It's the whole manual on how this thing works and how to service it. And all, they don't make this machine anymore. It's made in France. I believe it's a Swiss design or German design. I forget. There's another thing on this. Again, it is the 570 joiner planer. It says 10 inches. I'll put a tape on this and show you what it actually is. But it's the same manual. There's another one. I guess I got a few of these. What? Oh my God. This is when I almost did porn for Playboy. No joke. Michael Trachillas Productions. I'll have to tell the story of that interview sometime. This is the handbook on how to act on set because you're around naked people and everything. And sexual harassment policy. And this goes all the way back to 90s. I did a play with a guy who was the star of the play, and he did a bunch of those Wet and Wild videos, and he set up an appointment for me with these people. It's just funny. Anyhow, I've got a bunch of manuals in here. Even this, look at this. This is some chisels I bought. You guys remember the Japan Woodworker? I don't know if they're still around. There used to be a girl that worked there. I used to talk to her on the phone, and I ordered a bunch of chisels from them. This whole box is just full of manuals from most of the tools I've bought over the last 30 years. I still have a lot of my old, even if I don't have the tools, a lot of the manuals are still in there. Anyhow, let's get back to the machine here. How's that sound? So right now it is in, I might be able to do all this off this small tripod for you. Right now it is in planer mode. All right. And today I'm going to take this material. It's all bend thickness planed. They're all the same exact thickness. Every single one of these pieces of wood are exactly the same thickness, including all these glue ups here. They're all going to become this project there. So what I have to do now is I have to straight line. They're all done, but I'm going to straight line one side one more time, run it through the table saw, get them all exactly the same to what they need to be for their part numbers, right? Maybe there's 8 of them that have to be exactly the same. So then what I'll do is I'll set this here up after I'm done in this mode to planer mode, and then I'll run them through in succession. So if there's 8 boards that need to be exactly 2.5 inches wide, I'll run them through there. They'll all be like 2 9/16 or a little less than that. I'll run them all through. They'll all be exactly 2.5 where I want them and square on all 4 sides. That's important when you do your joinery, because if they're not perfectly square, you're going to run into problems. I'll go ahead and change this out for you right now and put it back afterwards just to show you how I do it. I guess I got to move this thing around. There's a knob underneath here. Of course, the lighting won't be perfect for this. There's a knob right here you have to loosen. That loosens this contraption here, which the fence is attached to. And every time I set this up in joiner mode, I have to use a square here, loosen this, and make sure that this fence is perfectly square to the table. You have to do that every time. All right, just better safe than sorry. So let's see, maybe I can do this from here. Look at this. I'm figuring this stuff out. So yeah, loosen this here up, push that over, lock it in place. You got to come around over here. It's going to work out pretty good, I think. And there's this is your speed adjustment. I've never put it on the second speed, which is the fastest speed. I only ever use the first speed. I'm going to loosen this up. See that? There we go. I'm going to loosen this knob. And there are these 2 levers here on either side that lock it down. All right, that lever holds this. This is all cast one piece here and here, and then this lever holds it down. And these adjustments, there's stops right there, and these are adjustments will help you align this table to the top of the blades. This has all been done. From time to time it gets wonky, and I got to redo it. And that's one of the worst things, one of the worst jobs to do on this machine, just because it's really tedious. Anyhow, so I'll do this. I'll move the levers over. As you move this lever, you have to adjust the speed at the same time. It just falls into place. I'll take this off and show you. And then this lifts right off. And this hook with the threaded rod, which is connected to the machine brass knob here, that's what pulls. You see this is ramped here. All right? You see these are ramped. These are steel plates bolted on here. They ride right here along this rabbet here and here, and that hooks on this steel bar here, and that's what pulls the whole thing up and aligns with the top edge of the blade. All right, the next thing you have to do, now this one came with a fancy circular knob here. This fits right over this, and right now if you were to look in here, I can't get you the angle, but the top of the plastic is pretty high up here. That's to ensure that the dust that's being pulled down falls down this ramp, down into here, and I have a dust collection port that hooks here and pulls all the dust out. What we have to do now is you have to turn this knob to loosen or lower the table here, right? This is the table that the wood slides on top of when you're in planer mode. Right now it's high, so that there's not a huge gap up there, so the dust will come down, but you have to lower it again. And now I can lift up on this, which is just caught, the plastic's just caught on this little aluminum hook that's machined into the table here. And if you look in here, Get you. Oh, too tight. So you see right here, you see that little bar? There's a hole right here in the aluminum casting. There's one on the other side, and the whole thing pivots on that. So I lift up, I push in, lifts it up off that, and then you rotate this out. Normally I would vacuum this off first. And now I can pull this up, theoretically. Why is it not happening for me today? It's because it's all on film. So this just slides up here. You have to take this off first. It's a thing. Normally I'm not trying to show anybody how to do it. I know what I'm doing. And then these little spring-loaded clips clip on here. There's another one on the other side, right in here. You gotta fiddle with it. Boom. And now you are in planer mode. Okay? And you can see here, as I turn this, it moves up. Our maximum cut you could do on this is a little over 6 inches, and about the minimum is a little under 1/8 of an inch. So those are your parameters. Your other parameters right here, the distance between this. Let's see if I can zoom in on that for you. So there's like a rail right here, right there, and right here on the other side. All right. When I first got this machine, there was a few times where the wood got up on top of there and messed everything up. Let me measure this for you. I don't know if I can show it to you on camera, but I'm actually curious to what that exact measurement is. Normally I'd have my apron on with my tape measure, but I don't. All right. See what you're looking at here. Let's see what that dimension is. This would be your maximum planer width. And right here, it is, I mean, it's precisely 10 1/4 inches, which means you can't do 10 1/4. You could do 10 3/16, but it's going to bind on you on those two rails a little bit. So about 10 1/8 is really your maximum width for your planer. When it comes to the top, we're going to go ahead and put this all back together. My first step today is planing anyhow. So, okay. If you guys saw what I was doing here, it's pretty ridiculous. This is resting on top of the the bandsaw. Okay, so I would lower this all the way. And I would always take the time to vacuum out all the sawdust in here. Sawdust will capture moisture, so if you're leaving, it's not smart to leave sawdust inside your machines, on top of your machines. You should clean them out regularly because they will collect moisture and then you will get corrosion inside the machine. So be on top of that. Oh, also, when you do planer mode, there's this product here. It's called Wax-A-Lit. And so you take a little bit of that out and you wipe this down, you let it dry, you buff it, you leave just a little bit on there, and it helps with friction. And it doesn't hurt the wood at all. Okay, so that's all the way down. We go back to here. I should have cleaned this all out for you. Alright, get the dust out of there just to be on the safe side. Make sure there's nothing on here to screw up your alignment. Lay this on. I like to tighten it up first because then there's less friction between the locking mechanism here and the table. My stops are adjusted, so when I get to there I don't want to over tighten, because if you over tighten at this point, you can, even though these are pretty tight over time with vibration and everything else, these could become slightly loose, and if you over tighten, you're going to move this adjustment. This is going to be off and you got to redo the whole thing, and I'm telling you, it's a very tedious process. As you pull this, you have to undo the knob over here for the speed setting. The speed setting's not used when you're in joiner mode. I like to give this a little bit of a turn here. My next thing is I'll take a straight edge which is usually my 2-foot level here. There's nothing up here. And then I like to do this and get that to hit. Right? And what I'll do is I'll do that in 2 spots. Let's see if I can zoom in on that for you. Look at that. So I want this to hit and pull. You see that? Make sure this is right. I have a little bit more of a turn on the knob. I want to hit that and pull. See that movement? I want to make sure that that matches here. Same thing here. That's how I know that this is in pretty good alignment here. It's just barely, it's not really lifting it. If it was, I could tighten it a little bit more. You want this to just, there you go. Just graze it. There you go. It's just grazing it. I do that so much that the bottom of this straight edge has these little marks on it from taking just the finest bit of aluminum off of there. So that's how I know that now this top is aligned well with this blade. I'll show you something here, how to adjust the blades or remove them. And there's a nifty thing here I'll explain to you. So you have to take a block of wood, you have to take this here and just tap it, tap the other one, and now this blade, there's a slot right here, will slide right out. And now I can turn that over and use the other side. I think I might as well do that right now, just on this one. The other thing, if you're not trying to show somebody this on camera, you can actually do this whole process in less than a minute. Change your blades out. I'll show you something else here. Okay, so I'm just going to try to keep you right here. Now, this blade can be adjusted all the way in tight to that side, which is probably what a lot of people do. Or there's 3 of these blades, right? There's 1, 2, 3. Now, sometimes when you're milling your lumber, you might find that you end up with some little, kind of like a scratch mark or a high rail, because a nick happens. And if there's a nick, it's going to happen on all 3 blades in the same spot. So what you do then is you take your knives here, your blades, it's the one that's loose, and you adjust them, right? See how it's moving? You adjust them so they're all slightly off. And then that erases the marks that you'll find on your wood when you're planing. So you can finick with this. Now you can only go so far here because there are heads of bolts right here that this thing would hit if you know what you're doing. Like right now, boom, it's locked up. Now if I turn the machine on right now, that would be a major catastrophe. So you have to adjust this so it's in far enough where there's plenty of clearance. What this will do, this will allow me to get a wider board. I can mill up, I think it's almost like 10 3/8 of an inch up here if I adjust these knives correctly. Of course, if that board has to be planed, I have to thin it anyhow on the table saw. It helps sometimes. It's nicer, you get a better cut on the table saw if you have a face joint board. So if I can face joint a board that's 10 1/4 or wider and has a slight bow to it, I can straighten that out on a table saw, then come back and plane it. So that's how that all works. I think that's about it for this thing. All right, so got the knives here and showed you how to change the blades and remove them. Oh, I'll just take this off for you real quick so you guys understand this. When you are in planer mode, as I was saying earlier, there are times when you can't remove a lot of material with this machine. That's why those 12-inch versions, like the Deltas and whatnot, I might as well put it back in planer mode for you so you can see this. So on those larger machines, they can remove a lot more material in a single pass than this machine can. So you're limited on this one. You have to do more passes. This is why I use the technique of I face join here, then I tip it up on end, and I resaw, and I end up with this, right? So the backs of both of these are perfect. They're perfectly flat and smooth, and one edge, it happens to be the bottom one, is perfectly 90 degrees, and then I run that on that, And I end up with these two edges now that are on end like this. That's a giant timber to resaw. This is hard white oak too. So then that piece just falls away and I'm left with this. This will stabilize for me over the next couple days. I'm going to face join this edge again. Then I can plane it. Then I can thickness plane it. And now it's much closer to the thickness I want. So there won't be as many passes, right? In planer mode on this machine. Now, as I was about to get to, from time to time, you're running a board through here and you screwed up. You didn't thickness plane, or excuse me, resaw, and now your board has a hump to it or something, and you're coming through the machine and it bogs down on you. The wood goes through, but it stops cutting. That's because you've thrown a belt. So to get to the belts, you have to pull this little knob here out. Okay, place that right here. Then there's two of these. The other one's underneath here. You unscrew these. Alright. And then this piece of plastic comes right off. And it's pretty malleable. You just kind of put it through here. Alright. See this? This is the white lithium grease that gets thrown from these wheels. So there are, tilt you up here and zoom in a little bit. So there's two belts here. There's one belt down here, and there's this larger belt there. Inevitably, it's usually this lower belt. It'll pop off this little tensioner pulley, and you have to reset this. And these belts do wear out. And yeah, so you grease this. There's a little groove inside each of these gear wheels, and you put some white lithium grease in there from time to time. You could tell I never use this gear. I should run it on this gear just to spread that grease out. That is white grease. It's just gotten mucky from sitting there and not being used for a long time. It doesn't hurt to grease this, but you can see what happens here. The gears only really engage at this point. They don't engage anywhere else along there. I'll also, once in a while, put some silicone grease on these threaded rods that raise and lower the planer table. So when you're seeing all this in real time, it's getting to be a long video. I'll go ahead and put all this back. You can see how what's going on here. How easy this actually is. It's not, it's not super time consuming. It's just when you're in the middle of planing boards and you have to stop to do this. It's a real pain in the butt. So you want to get good at prepping your material so you don't run into the issue where you have to do this. There's nothing worse than having to do this right in the middle of your flow, and then you end up with some grease on your hands or something, and you got to clean that off because you don't want the grease from your hands to transfer to your lumber, which can show up later on the project. And you might as well see it from this side now. I'll go ahead and put this back. Slide this up, it clicks and locks. I would typically do this next. I would lift it. Or eyeball that there so the sawdust falls correctly. I know. Know you're hired jokes. Trying to get this done because I can hear the gardeners are here. They're about to come back here with a lawnmower any second, make a whole bunch of noise. Tighten that up a little bit. Double check my alignment. It's perfect. Yeah. That's what you want, so I'm ready to plane. Anyhow. That's that. I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know how many of you people know about the INCA 570 joiner. It is a European machine. This is specifically designed for furniture makers. In small shops. Look at European shops sometime. People there will build furniture and they have very tiny spots. 8 by 10 sometimes. A whole shop. So they have to maneuver their machines around and that sort of thing. I have one last thing maybe. Yeah, this is the original switch Took a poop on me at some point, so I built one, and that works out well. I just have this running up here that is wired for 220, and I've got a 220 service on the wall over here that short cord runs into. Actually, it's teed off up here. So yeah, and also this engine, this motor, yeah, it's a Leeson. It's a 2 horsepower, and it can be wired for 110 or 220. So that's kind of nice. I have another one of these. I might have 2 more of these. And I'm going to be rebuilding or building another table saw. My old one that I used to use in my old shop years and years and years ago. I'm going to build that for the house in Arizona. So I have a decent table saw there to work off of. And some other cool machines. I have a INCA radial arm that I'm going to put together. And I'll do a video on that because I think people will really enjoy that one. That's it for now. Have a great day. I know it's a long video. I don't expect it to get a whole lot of views. It's a woodworking thing, you know. Not a lot of people are into this. I don't know if anybody else, I haven't even looked to see if there's any videos on this machine. There probably is. There's probably better ones than this one. But if you know something about it, or if I missed something, feel free to chime in, you know. I have milled, it's hard to believe, I've milled 12-foot plus giant timbers of genuine Honduran mahogany on this. Perfect. Now, I had to build an outfeed system with rollers. I had to build a system out on the other end. This is my old garage, my old basement shop. I'd have a roller system out here, and I would stand between that and push it through. And it would take a tremendous amount of force with my upper body to lock it in tight to that fence. And I did it. You know, it wasn't easy, but you can do it. So typically I have this roller here. I will put that out here, you know, aft of the outfeed table, and I've got a 6-foot level there, and I'll lay that on here. And then I have to adjust the height of that and the feet to make it, you know, perfectly level in this direction, right? Both ways this way, as well as height, so that when I roll off of this, it's an extension of that beyond it. So that's how I'm able to do longer pieces and what you see here on the table today. So it's a major process, and that's one of the reasons why you want to be diligent and smart about your tool setups. Tool setups take a tremendous amount of time when you're doing a project, so you want to think everything out. So hey, I'm going to use the table saw all day today. Make your notes, do all the stuff you have to do there. I'm going to do my face joining today. Same thing. And if you're doing your face joining and you have to set that up for longer pieces, you want to do that setup, and that's what you want to do all day, period. You don't want to do like 2 of those now, jump to something else, and have to do this same setup 3 or 4 times in the course of one day. That's bananas, right? So you want to think things out that way. It might slow your progress slightly, but you're still more efficient. So it makes more sense. And it's okay when you're building like art pieces and high quality furniture to go slower. Slow it down a hair, man, because there's no such thing as a wood stretcher. You know, you make a mistake, you're screwed. And that mistake, it's going to add cost if you have to buy more. It happened to me on this one, right? I made the door rails too short, so I had to buy more material. That added a couple days, not full days, but it added a couple days of time because I had to mill that, then remill all of it so everything was the same thickness. That's not fun, man, but it happens. So slow it down, man. Take it easy, think it out, be conscientious, be deliberate, stay focused, make notes, check several times, because again, if you make that mistake, it's just going to add a lot of time to the project and money. I think I'm done. I think I'm finally done talking. Have a good day. Thanks for being here. I hope somebody enjoys this. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.